This video will introduce you to the purpose, categories, and selection process of accessibility resources available for CAASPP and ELPAC, including the alternate assessments. This video is sponsored by the California Department of Education, or CDE. The accessibility resources being discussed are for the following assessments: the Smarter Balanced Summative Assessments for English Language Arts Literacy, or ELA, and Math, the California Science Test, or CAST, the California Alternate Assessments, or CAAs, the California Spanish Assessment, or CSA, and the English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, or ELPAC, and the alternate ELPAC. These assessments are part of the California Assessments for Student Performance in Progress, also called CAASPP, and the English Language Proficiency Assessments for California, also called ELPAC. In California, we are focused on equitable education, providing each student with the tools and resources they need to be successful in school and to graduate ready for college or career. And those needs can vary greatly by individual student. The purpose of California assessments is to provide every student with a positive and productive assessment experience, generating results that are a fair and accurate estimate of each student's achievement. This is why these assessments are built on a framework of accessibility for all students. In the process of developing its comprehensive assessments to measure students' knowledge and skills as they progress towards college and career readiness, Smarter Balanced and the CDE recognize that the validity of assessment results depends on each and every student having the appropriate accessibility resources when needed, based on the constructs being measured by the assessment. Let's walk through the 1, 2, 3, 4s of accessibility. We have one purpose when it comes to accessibility: access. Students with specific learning needs may require accessibility resources to fully engage and demonstrate mastery of content during instruction and on assessments. To better serve them, CAASPP and ELPAC provide a wide range of resources to ensure that the administration of each test meets the needs of all students, including those with disabilities. An array of accessibility resources are available to ensure that students' accessibility needs are met. When it comes to the delivery of accessibility resources, there are two options: embedded and non-embedded. Embedded resources are digitally delivered as part of the technology platform for computer-based tests, such as text-to-speech for math and science. Non-embedded resources are provided by the local educational agency, or LEA, outside of the test delivery system, such as noise buffers and scratch paper. Some embedded resources are available only for specific test questions or specific domains for which they are allowed. Resources included in the CAASPP and ELPAC fall into three basic categories: engagement, presentation, and action and expression. There are resources that support students to remain engaged with the assessment. For example, providing breaks, a separate setting, or even sensory items. There are also resources that support students by varying the way the assessment is presented. For example, all or parts of an assessment might be translated for an English learner, or parts of an assessment might be read aloud to struggling readers through text-to-speech. And finally, there are resources that support students by allowing them to respond through various actions and expressions. For an example, an adaptive keyboard, or using a scribe. There are 4 types of resources: universal tools, designated supports, accommodations, and unlisted resources. The first type of resources available are the universal tools. They are available to all students based on individual choice and preference. You do not have to do anything to turn on a universal tool. They come built into the test. Examples include Zoom, Notepad, Highlighter, and Strike-Through. Next are the designated supports. They are available to any student for whom a need has been identified by an educator or team of educators who is familiar with the student's instructional needs. No Individualized Education Program, or IEP, or Section 504 plan needed. Examples include Read Aloud and Print on Demand. The next level are accommodations. They are only available to students with an active IEP or Section 504 plan. Also, the accommodation must be written into the IEP or 504 plan and is currently being used as an instructional resource in the classroom. Examples include American Sign Language, Braille, or alternate response options. For the 3 types listed so far, universal tools, designated supports, and accommodations, students who use these during the test will still get a valid score. The last level is unlisted resources. They shall be made available if specified in the eligible student's IEP or Section 504 plan and if they do not violate test security. They are available only with approval from the CDE. Unlisted resources are resources that are not already identified as a universal tool, designated support, or accommodation. There is a special process involved in requesting unlisted resources, which we won't go into for this introduction video. We once again want to reiterate that the use of universal tools, designated supports, and accommodations does not affect the student score in any way. Students who use these during the test will still get a valid test score. We mentioned earlier that for unlisted resources, the CDE will determine if the construct being tested is still valid with the use of this resource. Change of construct means a modification to the concept or skills being tested that fundamentally alters the meaning and comparability of achievement test scores. If the construct being tested is still valid with the unlisted resources, the student will get a valid score. If the construct being tested is not valid with the unlisted resources, the student will not get a valid score for CAASPP and will get the lowest obtainable scale score for ELPAC. This information will be communicated to the assessment coordinator. Let's shift gears and talk about the process for selecting resources. When it comes to matching resources to student needs, familiarity is key. You will want to be familiar with the student access needs early in the school year to provide them with the necessary resources to access classroom instruction, classroom assessments, and district assessments on a daily basis. Students can also explore these resources on the CAASPP and ELPAC practice and training tests and the CAASPP and ELPAC interim assessments. End-of-year testing should not be the first time you consider using accessibility resources, nor the first time students are using them. To ensure accessibility resources truly support students to best demonstrate what they know and are able to do, students need exposure and practice. Deciding what accessibility resources should be assigned to students should be a data-based decision-making process, and students' individual needs should be considered when selecting these resources. For students without an IEP or Section 504 plan, a variety of sources of information should be involved in making this decision, and there should be some type of documentation of the identification and selection process. Take a team approach to making these decisions. The CDE has created the Individual Student Assessment Accessibility Profile tool, known as the CAASPP tool, which educators can use when identifying resources for CAASPP and ELPAC. The CAASPP tool can be used to identify student needs and will generate a list of designated supports and accommodations that may meet the student's individual needs. Once you are done with the CAASPP tool and have the list of resources, you can follow your local procedures to get the information to the correct person, who can then update the test settings. The CAASPP tool can be found at isap.ets.org. The next resource is the Assessment Accessibility Matrix, or the Matrix for short. The Matrix displays the embedded and non-embedded universal tools, designated supports, and accommodations allowed as part of the computer-based CAASPP and ELPAC. The Matrix lists all resources organized by type, including whether each resource is embedded, non-embedded, or both, as well as the applicable assessments for each resource. Lastly, we want to mention the accessibility resource graphics. These graphics are available for each assessment, and they display available accessibility resources in an easy-to-understand format. Both the matrix and the accessibility resource graphics, as well as videos, printable resources, and guidelines, can be found on the CAASPP and ELPAC website at caaspp-elpac.org. Thank you for watching this video about accessibility resources. We hope it has provided you with some tools to further build your understanding.